Did you always want to be a realtor?
No. No, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I like doing, or I used to like doing the administration. Just give me stuff to do, administrative work, and I'll do it. And I thank you for my paycheck every 2 weeks, and I'm good to go home at 5 o'clock. The people that are here, we're all of the same. We're all like-minded people. If you are not someone who is willing to help, willing to participate, willing to socialize and work hard and be sharing and caring, sharing is caring, right? Then this culture may not be for you. I'm up in my business right now where it's repeat business, or it's my friends, my family, my current clients are referring me to their friends, their own families, their own whatever, right? So it's repeat and referral. So they know kind of what they get, and I can be outspoken and I will tell it like it is. And I will say, listen, if I don't want my parents to live in this house, then I'm not going to sell it to you. I want my client to be 100% sure. If there's any hesitation, this house isn't for you.
Right.
And for women who have been married, a good thing that I say to them is, remember how you felt when you tried on your wedding dress? You knew it was the one. This is like house hunting. You walk into your house and you know this is the one.
Isn't it weird how like it's just the plans that we make and the ambitions that we have and often what we actually end up doing is totally different. Like
totally different.
You never really expected to get into real estate or never saw yourself as a realtor, but then 19 years later, here you are.
They turn away about 1,000 women and their children every year because they don't have the space for them.
Wow.
They also have a 24-hour hotline, and that brings in about 3,000 phone calls annually that women are calling into the hotline because
is that a national
thing?
Oh, that's
this is just through Bethesda
House.
Yeah, that's
Holy
just through Bethesda
crap.
and Bowmanville. So, yeah,
Wow.
You think it's really small, but when you start looking at the stats and everything, it's quite large.
Bonnie White, how's it going?
It's good.
I feel like we've got such a history
We do.
over like 4 years, maybe even
Going
more.
on 5, I
Probably
think.
5. But I
Just
also feel there's so much I don't know about you. And so I'm excited to have this conversation.
It's not very exciting, but if you think it's exciting, excellent.
Well, so some big news for you is what you are going to be doing either later this year, or is it later this year?
October.
So what are you doing in October, Bonnie White?
I'm going to Cambodia.
Okay. You're going to be flying first class and like staying in a 5-star hotel, right?
Do you know how expensive first class flying is?
I don't want to know.
It's stupid expensive. So no, I'm saving my pennies.
But you are staying in a 5-star hotel, right?
No, it's called a tent on the ground.
Okay.
With no bathroom facilities. It's
Right.
Yeah. So,
and, so what's that all about then?
I'm doing it for the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation. So it's called Trek for Shelter. And the Shelter Foundation does it every 2 years. In the past, they've done Machu Picchu, Ecuador, Iceland, the Sahara Desert, Purcell Mountains in BC during COVID. And so this year it's Cambodia.
Right.
And it's a total of 1 week. So the first night we stay in a 5-star hotel.
Right.
With someone I don't know sharing my room. Another Royal LePage agent from across the country. And then we head out and we're in tents for 5 nights and no Wi-Fi, no technology, no nothing. And we come back and we have one last night in a 5-star hotel.
Why would you want to put yourself through that then?
Because it's Cambodia. Like, it's Cambodia.
Right.
And it's raising money for the Shelter Foundation. So that it just came, I've been wanting to do it for a few years now. And this one I like because I don't have to carry all of my, like my pack. I don't have to carry all of that with me every day. I just have to carry a little day pack.
Okay.
And they will set up the tent and have my, like my mattress and a sheet for me
Okay.
because it will be hot
Right.
and humid.
Right. Well, I want to find out a little bit more about that, and then about a whole bunch of other stuff. But just fill me in with some of the basics of your background. Like you've been in real estate, like have you been for like 40 years or 50 years?
50 years, John.
No, how long have you been in real estate, Bonnie?
I have actually, well, it's been over 30 years now that I've been tied to the industry.
Okay.
So I started working right out of college at our local real estate board, which is now Clark,
Oh,
Central
okay.
Lakes of Association
And
of Realtors.
what was your role there, like when you first
I
came
was
to college?
doing the public relations communications officer. I did that for a little bit and did my co-op there.
Right. So you've got you had Savannah's job.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's what she's doing. Yeah,
Right.
but back in the day when we had the big, I want to say telephone book, like the big MLS book
Right.
that was, so I would do up like a newsletter to go in the front of that and do photography for social events and yeah,
Right.
stuff like that. So I started there and then I went to W. Frank Real Estate
Right.
under Walter Frank, and I worked there doing referrals and relocation and marketing
Okay.
when we used actual 4x6 photos on an 11x17 piece of paper
Right.
and shrunk those down to an 8.5x11 for feature sheets.
Wow.
So way back when, yeah. So
And so that was with Royal LePage Frank Real Estate, basically, as it was back then.
as it was back then, before Royal LePage Frank became part of the Royal LePage family,
And
it
so
was
how
just
long
an
ago-
independent.
How long ago was that then?
That was in the early 90s,
Okay. Wow. So you are a veteran in the industry.
unfortunately.
Yeah.
Yeah, or fortunately. Yeah.
And
yeah.
did you always want to be a realtor?
No. No, it was the furthest thing from my mind. I like doing, or I used to like doing the administration. Just give me stuff to do, administrative work, and I'll do it. And I thank you for my paycheck every 2 weeks, and I'm good to go home at 5 o'clock.
Right. Switch off,
And-
work-life balance.
Yeah,
Okay. So
that was it.
what happened?
I had a family. I between leaving W. Frank Real Estate, I went to Royal LePage head office in Toronto, and I worked there in their relocation department. So it was a lot of administrative stuff.
What does that mean, the relocation department? This is not real. This is
It's kind of real estate, but it's not real estate. I got my license when I worked there, so I had
Right.
my license parked. So I kind of knew what I was talking about.
so. What were you
And-
relocating?
I was relocating people. Members of the Department of National Defense was one of my big projects that I worked on.
Oh,
And
right.
so when they were transferring their members,
Right.
whether it be nationally or internationally, they would get on, if they had a house, they owned a house, they would get on a guaranteed home sale program.
Right.
So we would give them a price for their house. They would try and sell it. If they didn't sell it and they had to be at their destination beforehand,
Yeah.
then we would take over the house and we would give them X amount of dollars, a guaranteed home sale.
Right.
So it was a lot of talking on the phone, gaining trust on the phone with that employee or member of DND,
Yeah.
and having them trust you and work with you to get them happy and have them happy at the end of the day to relocate. So-
Right. And presumably, like some of these were like planned out in advance, but there was probably a lot of short notice ones. And
Yeah, some short notice. Like their big time of year to relocate is in the spring. So no one ever got like spring, summer. Nobody ever got summer vacation
right.
because we had to work all through the spring and summer for those
Right.
employees. So I did that when I was there. I did U.S. transferees. So same thing. Large companies, employees are being relocated across the U.S.
Right.
So we would put them on guaranteed home sale programs. The last thing I did when I worked for relocations, I was there for 10 years. And the last thing I did was public guardian and trustee.
What is that?
So government sanctioned, if you pass away or if you pass away without a will and you have no family or anything like that, or if you are a member of our community where you have family, but your family doesn't treat you very well, and this happens quite a bit, where family members may steal from their parents or steal from their sibling that
Right.
is not mentally capable of making decisions and
Right.
things like that. So, what did I just call them? Public guardian and trustee
Yeah.
would step in on behalf of that person.
Public guardian and trustee, that's a government agency, presumably. And
It
so then
is.
they enlisted your assistance with the real estate part of it.
Yeah. So I
Right.
would be their one contact for all of the agents across Ontario.
Right.
If they had a person who owned real estate, we would work with the agent to get it listed, sold, and that kind of stuff. So I
Right.
did that.
Right. So you were, so you worked at CLAR, then you went to the Royal LePage head office, and you didn't want to be a realtor, but then you became a realtor.
Well, I got my license and had it parked, and I had a son who was 4, and I wanted to, because even driving over 20 years ago, was not very exciting on the 401.
So where were
to
you
go.
living at that time, commuting to Toronto?
I was living in Curtis
Oh, wow.
and commuting to the DVP in Winford Drive.
Right.
So the commute was horrible. If it snowed,
Oh, yeah.
the light rain, I was gone for, 10, 11 hours a day.
Right.
So my son was 4. I wanted to be able to take him to school. I wanted to be able to have dinner with him, take a day off and volunteer at school and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I then joined with a realtor and was like a licensed assistant, I
Right.
guess, and did that and worked with sellers and buyers and did that for a few months and thought, hey, I can do this on my own. And so after I think about 6 months of working with a really busy realtor, I went out on my own. And that was, over 19 years ago, going on 20 years ago now.
Right.
So,
And presumably the experience that you had in the real estate board, and then also in that very unique position with relocations, that probably gave you a very unique insight
Yeah.
into the aspects of real estate that other agents might not really have the chance to see.
the relocation part of it, where you're speaking with people on the phone, you're not speaking with them across the kitchen table. So it's only your voice they're hearing on the phone, and you have to gain their trust
Right.
and be able to speak with them and let them and explain a program. This is how it works, and this is what we do next. And we didn't really have a whole lot of email. Like, we would send out in the mail like a full package to them. So that just phone calls and learning how to speak with someone over the phone and gain, have that rapport, gain the trust,
Right.
has been so beneficial to my career.
Makes me think of so marathon runners would maybe go to high altitudes to train, so that when they're actually running on a level ground, it's way
It's like,
easier.
yeah,
So I guess like once you were able to get face to face with people, it's like
Like, this is
that's
yeah,
cool.
it's no problem. It was easy peasy, right?
That's cool.
So, and then you just years and years of experience and knowing what to say, how to say it,
Right.
when to be there, and when to,
Right.
go back into the shadows and let them figure it out.
So that was 19 years ago that you made that transition.
I'll be here. Yeah, it's my 20th year with Royal LePage Frank.
Oh, so that was here.
Yeah, I've come to Royal LePage. Like, I went to W. Frank Real Estate, to Royal LePage, to Royal LePage Frank. So I've been with essentially the same company.
You're a
for
very
30 years.
very faithful realtor.
I am.
Yeah,
I'm very loyal,
Yeah.
very faithful.
Wow. And what's
Yep.
kept you here at Royal LePage Frank?
The people, the family. I love what we stand for. I love the company. It's, nationwide Canadian company.
Yeah.
And apparently that is like a big thing nowadays.
Right now it is. Yeah. Yeah.
So I love that. I love that we have our own shelter foundation. I love that. It's important for us as agents and our managers, myself, part of a leadership team. We are so in tune with what's happening in our communities. And, doing Maple Fest and Apple Fest. And, years ago we had garage sales and made so much money for the Shelter Foundation and things like
Right.
that. So we're always in our community showing them that we're just because we're realtors, we're also, normal people.
Right. And you mentioned like the family atmosphere. When I hear people say that about like, oh,
We like
we're
this family
we're
though.
a family. Well, I mean that's one thing. Family, you don't choose your family, and some people might have an experience that's not the most positive. But like just the idea of like your work colleagues and the organization you're part of is like a family. It's a bit of a cliche. In fact, it's more than a bit of a cliche. It's a total cliche. But having had the experience of being at all kinds of Royal LePage Frank like events and awards, and then working with a lot of the realtors, like it really does. It's not the cliche. It's not just like a token thing to say. Almost everybody who has ever really spoken to me about the culture here at Frank has said something unsolicited.
Yep.
Has said something about how supportive. How welcoming it is to new agents, how supportive it is, kind of in on all different, kind of levels and experience levels, and that, you just really feel like you are part of a community that cares about each other. What would you add to that in terms of like the culture here?
When I first started, so when I decided to go out on my own, and I stayed in this same office, so the agent I was working for.
You are now in competition.
In a way, yes.
In a way.
But, you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, I can do this because I didn't know I couldn't, right?
Right.
So it was like, this is easy. And Blair Buchanan, we'll drop a name or two. Blair Buchanan brought me into his office and he said, okay, you're on your own. I know you can do this. And anytime you have questions, you come in here. And here's my stack of CDs you can listen to in the car about, real estate, because our cars had CD players back then. So he was the first one that, one of the very first that opened up his door and whatever.
Right. And he's still here. He's been in real estate in Durham region for 50 years.
Yeah, he's still here. But he's a fixture here. And just so well liked. And I know at any time I can call him up and be like, Blair, have you ever had this happen before? And he will lend his experience. And I can do that with any agent, with any manager in any office. Listen, I'm having this issue, or have you come across this, or what have you done in this scenario? And everyone shares. Like we're not holding our cards close to our chest. We're like, hey, this is what I've done. It's worked for me. Like,
what do you think has allowed that to develop and then flourish? Because obviously it is beneficial to everybody, and I'm sure that's not new information, but like it doesn't just come about naturally, right?
no.
So like what has been done to create that culture, would you say?
I think it has, like, the people that are here, we're all of the same, we're all like-minded people. If you are not someone who is willing to help, willing to participate, willing to socialize and work hard and be sharing and caring, sharing is caring, right? Then this culture may not be for you. We are a family. I'm an independent contractor. Absolutely. I am a realtor by myself. I'm not part of a team, but I am part of this team on a whole in this family. So I think it stems from leadership, and it flows all the way down to whether you are a member of the leadership team, a realtor, part of a team, selling real estate, and even our admins to our realtors. They know that
Sharing is caring.
Sharing is caring.
Wow.
And we go for lunch together, and there's some of us. I remember when I worked at W. Frank Real Estate, and I was turning 25, and I had a surprise birthday party, and my friends from W. Frank Real Estate were at my house for a surprise birthday party for me. So
Wow.
it's doing stuff not just in the office, but out of the office too.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about the recent developments in the brokerage? So John Byers and Dennis Roberts took over, I think, like 2 years ago.
2 years ago now.
And obviously they, they brought in a certain new perspective and some new initiatives. What's been the most exciting things since then?
So I think one of the what we used to say before John and Dennis kind of came on the scene is Rick, who was the previous, or Rick is still around, but if he came into an office, we would be like, "Oh, what's going on?" Because we didn't really see him very often.
Okay.
And John and Dennis are here all the time.
Right.
They are like reaching out to us even before I became part of like leadership team. Besides leadership team, they are always in the office, and the agents are getting used to that now, where it's
Right.
like, "Hey, John, hey, Dennis, what's going on today? What are you doing?" And they are so open with our ideas. And I can call them up and say, "Hey, have you thought about this? And what about that?" And they may tell me, "Bonnie, you're, out to lunch with certain things." But then if we have a good idea, they implement it,
Right.
So I think it's a fresh breath of air that has come to the company.
Right.
And it's younger and fresher and newer. And
I guess with that more inclusive attitude that you described there, that allows for all of the talented people in the brokerage that have all got like different experience and different things to offer. For that, collective talent and collective wisdom to become part of the overall culture, as opposed to like this person's good at that, this person's good at that, and like they're all off doing their own thing. Yeah, that's really, really cool. What are some examples of that? Like some examples of things that have come about because of that inclusive culture.
Oh my gosh, John, don't put me on the spot like this.
You're literally
really
in
good.
the spotlight,
I know,
buddy.
I know. So I guess the one thing that it's inclusive because, and John and Dennis they just have this camaraderie between the two of them, and we can joke around with them, and they are here for all of us.
Right.
So back at Christmas, when we had our holiday Christmas dinner party, we did a silent auction, and all the money there went to our shelter foundation and our local shelters. And I had the brilliant idea to get socks made.
I saw those socks. I think they were coveted by everybody at that party, including me.
So yeah, one pair of socks with John's head on it and another pair of socks with Dennis's head. And we did a live auction, and the two pairs of socks sold for $230.
That says something about how much value people place on Dennis and John.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's a beautiful validation.
Yeah. So we've been, and so that's the fun part of it, because we do have a lot of fun and things like that. Shrove Tuesday is coming up, so all of our managers will be making pancakes on our Tuesday meeting in the morning. So there's that sort of thing too, where they're reaching out to our agents, and our agents reciprocate back with our management.
Right.
I think we had said, or as agents, we were like, let's do some more roundtables. Let's talk about, in a group, what can we learn from each other? How can we do this? So this has been instilled with Dennis has now set up where we have these meetings every quarter or so, and it's based on not your location within the company, because we have so many different offices throughout Durham, Kawarthas,
How many
Northumberland.
offices?
16, I think.
Wow.
16
And how
offices.
many agents total? Do you know?
240 some odd, I think.
Wow.
You know, kind of shifts a little bit every now and again, but yeah, something
So
like
the round
that.
tables are an open invitation to anyone from any of those.
So right now we have it where it's based on what your GCI is
Oh, right. Okay.
and how you're doing. So, but that was just to begin. But now we'll be kind of mixing it up a little bit where
Right.
if your GCI is good, but it's not fantastic and you want to aspire to be at a higher level,
Right.
we will work with some of the higher level agents to eventually speak with those lower GCI agents
Right.
to mentor, get them to aspire, give them ideas. This is what I did. I worked, 18-hour days and I knocked on doors and I did whatever. So
Yeah.
to give the inspiration to the agents that want to get there.
So that sounds like a very intentional strategy in terms of grouping people together according to their GCI level. Then that's great because they've all got a common experience. They're
Yep.
all, at a certain, somewhat similar position. Obviously, everybody's got a different thing going on, but they are going to be able to relate to one another and then work together to lift each other up. But then now bringing in the agents who are maybe a little bit further on in their journey to then kind of give them like a vision for like where they can go from here. That sounds really cool.
Right. And we ask them too, it's like, what are your pain points? So an agent who is newer, 2 or 3 years into their business, their pain points are going to be completely different from pain points for an
Sure.
agent who's been around for 10 years and is, busy 24/7 kind of
Yeah.
thing. So we try and listen to all of those pain points and figure out what can we do to help them and,
Right.
what can we bring to the table.
So one of the things that that makes me think of is so earlier this year there was the Royal LePage Frank kickoff breakfast, and one of the speakers, Nick, he was talking about with the with the progressive automation, artificial intelligence, like all of the things that are designed to make our work more efficient, but they also take a lot of the like human interaction out of it. His main message that as I took from it was that like the relationship side of the business is just as important now, if not more important than ever.
More important.
But it's not just going to happen naturally. You need to be intentional about coming together with people, participating in certain things. Using automation and AI for the benefit that it can bring to you, but then seeking other ways to collaborate.
Right. So I love AI and I use it for starting of an email that I'm not quite sure how to start, or the property descriptions that we have to write for our listings.
Yeah.
Sometimes the creative juices just don't start flowing.
Right.
And before I would look at other listings in the neighborhood and be like, well, what did they say about the neighborhood? What did they say about the house? And it would take a long time for me
Right.
to get that going. Now I can get AI to start the
Right.
creative juices.
I love that you say start and you
Start
emphasize
it.
that because
You're-
I think, I noticed probably about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, that all of a sudden the vast majority of listing descriptions sounded weird and like overly flowery and like just the type of words that human beings
So-
would not put together.
Yeah, I read a description the other day and it had, I guess, some fruit trees on the property and it was like, enjoy nature's bounty and snack in the afternoon as you're sitting on the deck, and it's like, no.
And this is probably like an end unit townhouse in Bowmanville.
It was a detached house, but
Still.
yeah, it's not, you're not farming, that's for sure.
Yeah, so like who are you
So,
who are you trying to
But,
kid?
Yeah, AI, I love it. I'm scared of it at the same time because it can do so much.
Yeah.
And how they can create other people, or they could take me from me talking. Well, now they can make their own videos and have me say
there is
whatever.
some scary stuff happening.
So because I normally don't swear at all. So if you see the videos of me swearing and
Oh, that's not
stuff,
you?
yeah,
So it also creates holograms then? So it actually
it
looks
does
like you're right
everything,
in
right?
front of me swearing at me, but that's not actually you? Okay.
hmm
Okay, yeah.
I'd never do that. So,
Um,
do you know when you can start swearing in front of your client?
when?
When your client swears first.
So they break the ice and kind of give you the green light to
Yeah.
go ahead and become the potty mouth that you actually are.
Well, to an extent, you can't full blow, but you
You
still
have your
to
professional
still
filter.
to be professional. But
Yeah.
it's okay to
That's
use those words.
Yeah, that's a good benchmark, because I think sometimes, like, if well, I guess it goes both ways. If your client doesn't swear and you swear, then that's just not professional.
No.
But I think sometimes if your client, if is very, very much in that way of speaking, and you're intentionally filtering yourself, then there's a bit of a lack of authenticity there. So,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I like that benchmark. That they swear first, they give you the green light.
That's right.
Yeah. What other pearls of wisdom can you offer me about, like, how to, let's go down that route a little bit. How to create the most authentic relationships with clients without actually offending people or, like, taking it to a level too far.
My clients end up becoming, I guess, my friends. A majority. I'm up in my business right now where it's repeat business, or it's my friends, my family, my current clients are referring me to their
Right.
friends, their own families, their own whatever, right? So it's repeat and referral. So they know kind of what they get, and I can be outspoken, and
Yeah.
I will tell it like it is. And I will say, listen, if I don't want my parents to live in this house, then I'm not going to sell it to you.
Right.
Or, my son, we were joking about this morning because we have all of these different categories that we can use when we're searching for a property on Realm, on our system.
Right.
And one of the parameters or descriptions you could do is window bars for security. So I'm like, wow.
There's actually enough houses in Ontario that is a search criteria.
You can also search for swinging doors between, your
I thought you were
living
going
room,
to say you
dining
can
room.
also search for swingers.
Well, we know those
swinging neighbors. Maybe that should
those-
be a search criteria.
there is a certain neighborhood that is known for that.
Okay, I'll ask you
will-
about that later.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll-
Okay.
If you don't know about, I only know because I'm in real estate.
So everybody leaves their doors unlocked, and it's just kind
Something
of
about pineapples now. Yeah, pineapples and stars and things like that. But
I don't even know what you're
Yeah.
talking about there.
So
Well, let's move swiftly on from that.
what are my other words of wisdom? The one that I have lived with, not just in real estate, but one that I've lived with throughout my life is I was told, don't live with a what if. You cannot live your life with a what if. So you can't go back and be like, well, what if I didn't do that?
Right.
What if I said this? What if I acted this way?
Right.
It's done and gone, right? So I can't do that. That was advice given to me by my mother-in-law at the time. And I was going through a bit of a personal thing going on. And I was just, what if I had done this? And what if I had done that? And she said, you can't live like that. And so that's kind of like my mantra with stuff. And I wheel that out every now and again when it's for myself as well as for other people that I'm speaking with, because realtors are also therapists.
Yeah.
And,
Advisors.
moderators, babysitters, dog walkers.
Mediators sometimes.
Mediators, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're all of those things.
So that kind of, I don't know whether mentality is the right word, but like that the awareness that what if is not a good way to live. How would that sometimes cause you to advise a client who's like hesitant about something, or like, I don't know, if there's something that you feel is going to be a good thing for them, but they're just not.
If they don't feel it, they don't feel it.
Mm.
And I've said to them, we'll walk in a house and I'll be like, you're not buying this house, but let's look at it. And, but you're not buying it. Your mother will kill me if I sell you this house,
Right.
that sort of thing. I want my client to be 100% sure. If there's any hesitation, this house isn't for you.
Right.
And for women who have been married, a good thing that I say to them is, remember how you felt when you tried on your wedding dress? You knew it was the one. This is like house hunting. You walk into your house and you know this is the one.
Right.
So
Cool.
I want my clients to be happy with where they are. And I don't want them to regret their decision. I'm no pressure. And I have one client who said, I hate it, but my husband likes it, so we're going to buy it. And I said, I'm telling you, you're going to come back to me and you're going to say, you told me so. And she did. And they're still living in the house and she still hates it. And eventually they'll move. But she's like, yeah, you told me I shouldn't have bought it, but they're still there.
So you tell it like it is, but it's in the end, it's up to them to make their own decision.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So with your role now in management,
yep,
at the same time as being a realtor, like where's that going to go for you? Are you like going to be gradually doing less listings and taking on a more managerial role, or like what's your plan for the future, Bonnie?
My plan for the future, sell everything I own, move to the East Coast, and wake up to the sound of the ocean every day.
What's your timeline on that?
Hopefully before I die. I don't know. Like, leadership is great. I love it. I'm doing training now of new agents. I'm doing other training courses for our agents, whether they're new or experienced agents within the brokerage.
Right.
Helping Dennis manage a couple of our offices as well, reviewing a lot of paperwork and talking to a lot of agents and helping them. So I love that aspect of it, but I still love selling. So it sometimes is super, super busy. And sometimes if I'm not doing anything, I'm like, what can I do?
You get kind of itchy feet. You want to be busy doing something.
Yeah. I'll take a couple of hours out or take one night off, and then I'm just back to it the next day. Yeah. So real estate is my life. It's now ingrained in me, and I can't imagine doing anything else.
Yeah. Isn't it weird how like the plans that we make and the ambitions that we have and often what we actually end up doing is totally different. Like
totally different.
You never really expected to get into real estate or never saw yourself as a realtor, but then 19 years later, here you are.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was like before, just give me the project, tell me what I need to do, let me do it, give me my paycheck every 2 weeks. And now I'm the one, showing people how they can manage their career and start their career. And I'm still looking at when's my next paycheck coming from. So that is scary. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the business, but you're still taking a part of that too. Yeah. So.
Speaking about scary things, tell me more about this trek and like what has inspired you, or like what has motivated you to do something which I don't really know that much about it, but it sounds like it's going to be bloody hard work.
So there's about 120 realtors, Royal LePage, from across Canada that are going, and they go in. There's 4 different groups, so about 30 people in each group. And we set off every 3 days. I think there's another group setting off. I'm in the first group, so I'm actually starting on October 19th. I am leaving to go a few days early. So
you're going to be one of the trailblazers.
Yes, but I can't post anything on social media or do anything until the 4th group heads out onto their trek.
Oh,
so we have to.
Is that because that would put those people, I guess, at an advantage? Is
not
the right way to say
You're
it,
crazy. I couldn't sleep. The mattress is uncomfortable.
Right.
I don't know what I'm looking at. Yeah. So it's and also it's going to be, in my opinion, this is going to be like a me finding myself again, because we're going to the temples. And we're going to Angkor Wat, which is a massive temple. That's where we land on our last day.
What
So
kind of
there's
temple is that in Cambodia? I'm not familiar with like the
the
history. Oh, okay,
Buddhism,
right,
yeah.
right,
So there's a lot of peace, I think, and
right,
lots of things for us to think about and take a step back.
right,
And for me to just be like how lucky I am with where I am and how I'm in a position that I can help others that need the help.
right.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah, I guess some people would go on some kind of a spiritual retreat to find that, but
mm-hmm.
then there's a whole other element when it comes to like the difficulty of the journey and like the hardship of sleeping in a tent and stuff like that. I would imagine like a lot of people like you're crazy for doing that.
Oh, I've
Why
heard
would
it.
you want to? But when I said earlier on in the conversation, like why would you put yourself through that? It was like a rhetorical question because
Yeah.
I think that is just part of the experience of gaining that clarity and and stepping back from your day-to-day life.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a reset,
Right.
right? Because I feel that if I'm not good for myself, I'm not good for anybody else.
Now, so you said like you're going to be going to, you said temples, plural?
Temples, yeah. There's many temples.
Right.
They're not sure how many temples there are in Cambodia. There are so many temples. But there's the major temples that we'll be going to. Don't ask me to pronounce their names because I've kind of tracked it on a bit of a map from what we're told where we're going and trekking about 20 kilometers a day.
20 kilometers a day. Wow. Okay.
Over 5 days.
So 100 kilometers roundabout. And
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
And what is the like? Are there any additional structures or like goings on during the day? Like, or do you just walk and then you
No, we're
set up
just
camp
walking.
and then?
We're just walking.
Right.
There are some temples that we can stop with. We're going to be going through some villages.
Are there any other like organized? Is someone going to organize a meditation in one of these temples, or are you're just going to kind of go on your own journey and do
kind of
whatever you choose to do?
Yeah, yeah. So we'll go in a group. We'll walk in a group. Trek throughout the day. We will stop at some temples. There is one of the rivers of 1,000 something. So we'll be able to go and refresh in there and stuff because it's going to be very hot.
Right.
I'm in Cambodia, so I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I think it's more of we're doing it together, but we're doing it for ourselves
Right.
and we're doing it for everyone else. There's so many things that are intertwined.
Right. So
I
what's
think, with
everyone
this.
else then? Who are you serving with this?
So I am raising funds for Bethesda House, who is in Bowmanville.
Is it a women's shelter?
It's a women's shelter, women and children from domestic violence situations. It is the first shelter in Durham region that allowed pets to come into the shelter with them.
Oh,
Yeah, so I found that out and I thought that was really interesting because our pets are our family too. So if a woman is fleeing with her children, fleeing from a bad situation, they don't want to leave the dog behind because the dog is their best friend or their child's best friend. So Bethesda House does have that capacity
wow.
to have the women come in with their kids and their pets, and they have, the crates for their larger dogs, and
Right.
yeah, they're able to do that.
And the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation, so you're individually raising funds specifically for Bethesda House, but
Yep.
where does the Royal LePage Shelter Foundation come into it?
So what will happen is 80% of all the funds raised, and I have to raise at least $6,000. I've set my goal to be higher than that. So $6,000 has to be raised. 80% of that will go directly to Bethesda House. Like we go to the shelter, and then the shelter will send it to Bethesda House.
Right.
And then 20% is held back with the Shelter Foundation.
Right.
And that goes towards programs for domestic violence prevention. So this entails social workers, counselors going into our high schools and talking about domestic violence.
Oh, wow. So it's pretty comprehensive,
It's amazing. I had no idea. I
right?
had no idea. But this is what a relationship can look like. This is a healthy relationship. This is not a healthy
So it's
relationship.
preventative, not just, hey, there's a problem, let's try to like help these people who are suffering. It's,
Right.
oh, wow,
Right.
that's amazing.
Yeah. So, and I found that I found that out recently. So I'm more excited now that I can put that money towards it as well. So,
Right.
and those programs through the Shelter Foundation are across Canada, what they do with that for the violence prevention. But I know Bethesda House in Bowmanville, they have that going on as well, where they'll come out and speak with schools and groups and things like that.
Right. I mean, domestic violence is one of those things that's, certainly for me, it doesn't like touch my life in any tangible way, and so like I hear about kind of human trafficking, and there's so many issues that are going on that if you don't have any direct connection to it or knowledge of it, you can be completely oblivious to. So even just the awareness that there was a shelter in Bowmanville that is specifically to provide a place for women and children fleeing domestic, that just kind of blows my mind. It's like, what? That is even a thing that is needed in this day and age. That's just
It is. Right now they have 18 beds that they fill,
right.
and it costs them, I think it's about like $150 a night or a day
Right.
for each particular bed. They have enough beds for 20, but the funding is not there for them. So they will only fill 18 beds at Bethesda House. They turn away about 1,000 women and their children every year because they don't have the space for them.
Wow.
They also have a 24-hour hotline, and that rings in about 3,000 phone calls annually that women are calling into the hotline because
Is that a national
they need
thing? Oh, that's
this is just through
that's
Bethesda,
Bethesda
House. Yeah, that's
Holy
just through Bethesda
crap.
and Bowmanville. So, yeah,
Wow.
you think it's really small, but when you start looking at the stats and everything, it's quite large.
Right. And so if 1,000 women were turned away, that I guess the current support that's available is only just kind of scratching the surface.
Absolutely. So right now they have one like counselor that is on 24 hours a day
Right.
at Bethesda House. There are some times where there is only one person there. There's not multiple people. So this one person is answering the hotline, dealing with a situation that's happening in the shelter.
Wow.
You know,
Spread thinly.
they don't, but they don't have the funding. So
Right.
this is where they're trying to, and I'm hoping that I can bring this to the forefront, that I can say, like, it's happening right in our community in Bowmanville.
Yeah.
It's so small. It's like this sleepy community, right?
Now,
But-
were you aware of this before the shelter, the Trek and the Shelter Foundation?
So I knew about Bethesda House.
Right.
Every deal that I do, every commission check that I earn, a portion of my commission check goes to Bethesda House
Oh, wow.
through the Shelter Foundation.
Right.
So I knew it was there, but I didn't know a whole lot else about it.
Right.
I'm like, I'm doing my thing, I'm helping out. But now, since I've started the Trek and I've met with her executive director, and she's throwing stats at me and saying, this is what is happening and this is, whatever. So it's a lot more scary, but let's continue. Let's bring it to the forefront.
So how else are you going to bring it to the forefront? Obviously, the Trek itself and you going on the Trek is going to be a huge thing for raising awareness. But like, what have you got other plans?
So I have some special fundraising things that I'm doing, and every time someone donates to me individually, right on my Trek for Cambodia donation page, they will get a tax receipt. But I will also go ahead and post that on my social media to thank them, and also put a little blurb out to say, hey, did you know Bethesda House was the first shelter that had housing for pets. So I'm trying to give more information out to the community. I have met with the executive director. I'm going to try and do a little informal video. They have a secondhand store downtown Bowmanville. I've been in the store. I've walked past the store. I had zero idea that all of the money made in that store went to Bethesda House.
Right.
I had no idea. So if I don't know and I'm downtown all the time, who else doesn't know?
Right.
So through my social media, my fundraising, and all of that, I'm hoping that, fingers crossed, we can get more people to know about it. Yeah.
Cool.
So we're doing a trivia night March 5th at Brock Street Brewery. And in April, I have a little more of a girls' night kind of thing happening with something going on there. So every month we'll be doing something to raise awareness.
Is there another person from this brokerage, Royal LePage Frank, who's also doing it with you?
Yeah.
Who's that?
Lynn's Hunt, who works.
Oh, right.
So she's Royal LePage Frank Electric City.
Right.
Out of Peterborough.
Yeah, I remember now that was mentioned at the breakfast. I just didn't remember who it was.
So
right.
Lynn's is on the truck with me. She's in group 4, so I will not see her at all.
Right.
We actually will travel sepaplyn's
But you're together in spirit.
We're together in spirit, yeah. I'll have to leave a few notes for her maybe as I'm. Lynn's, I hope you're reading this. I hope I'm still alive.
So what do you got to do to prepare for this trek then?
Lots of treadmill.
Right.
The treadmill is in full swing right now, but slow and steady. I don't know how someone prepares to walk 20 kilometers a day for 5 days in a row. So I do about an hour a day on the treadmill right now. And I'm waiting for the summer to come so I can put my hiking boots on and trek outside in the heat and the humidity and kind of get used to it. So I'll be good to go in October. The one thing I don't want to happen, and it does happen, and it's happened on every trek with some of the realtors where they fall and they get hurt, they get sick, they have altitude. This was the last one when they were in Ecuador. There was altitude sickness because they were trekking so far up. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want to get like heat stroke or, I don't want that.
You want to be in the very best condition to actually do it and walk away from it.
And lose a few pounds or maybe more than a few pounds and get all of my extra shots that I have to take in order to travel to Cambodia because of all of the illnesses that are over there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a very exciting thing to be doing. So well done for signing up, and I'm excited to hear how it goes.
Yeah. I'm super excited. I haven't been as excited for any other trip than I am for this.
Right.
I think it's just a combination of who goes to Cambodia, and it's a 12 hours time difference, and it's going to take me, probably more than 24 hours on 2 or 3 different planes to get there.
Right.
And I'll be going without Wi-Fi and technology for 5 straight days.
You're going to come back an entirely different woman.
And we will highlight that I will be coming back.
Well, as long as you do all of the proper training and preparation, then you'll be back and refreshed and raring to go with a new perspective on life. And
absolutely, you have to kind of set your goals and reach for the stars kind of thing. And this is what I have for this year. So
how does that then feed back into what you do here at the brokerage and what you do for your clients? Like, it's obviously, it's something that you are doing that's entirely separate from selling a house. But do you think that any of it is going to allow you to better serve clients, to better, support the realtors that are around you?
I think right now my clients know, or they are told at one point or another, that I do donate a portion of my commissions. I think taking the money aside from it and just talking about me, myself, it will be a reset for myself. And I think it'll be time away to love the person I am.
Right.
And the support from the brokerage is amazing. I have, I think, just under $4,000 raised already, and it's only been 3 weeks.
And so you have to raise at least 6, and in
At
3
least
weeks
6.
you've raised 4.
Yeah.
What's
yeah.
your goal?
My goal is 10,000.
Right. And it's in October?
It's in October. We have until the end of the year, but really I want to have everything done prior to going in October.
Right.
But yeah, so, and we have a golf tournament coming up this summer too. So that'll be fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So this this is all part of the Royal LePage culture, and the culture of giving back and being together in community, as opposed to just everybody off trying to kind of figure out themselves. And then that's been embraced by Royal LePage Frank. And it's really, really cool to see that lack of, kind of, not lack of competition, but,
kind of, sort of, because what are the chances that I'm going to be going up against another one of the agents in the office
pretty high
on a listing presentation?
Pretty high, because there's 240 agents and it's all in the local area. Yeah.
Right. So, and a majority of my business is repeat and referral. So I'm hoping that my business will just be my business, and everyone will, after a few years, you'll start getting that repeat referral. And that's what we try and help and have our agents attain to that point.
Yeah.
Right. So we share everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's been like a really beautiful experience that you've had that relates to that, where you've either, kind of been up against another realtor, or like there's been something that's happened that really, really highlights the support and the non-competition?
Like if my manager, this was before I became part of the leadership team, but if I would speak to my manager and say, I'm going up against this agent, I have a listing appointment, or I'm dealing with, let's say, an estate property and I have to meet the children, and it's a tough meeting that I'm having with clients, that manager would always call me back afterwards.
Right.
Or send a text. How did it go?
Right.
Did you talk about this? What happened here? Do you need anything further? And what can I do for you?
Right.
And that's what we all want, right? Like, you may not be able to do anything for me, but even
just knowing that you're there and that you care, and that,
Yeah.
if you did need something, then you've got it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So it's good.
Is there anything else that you can say about about Royal LePage Frank, or about your passion for this brokerage?
Passion? That's, what, that's kind of what it is. It's a passion of mine now, real estate and the brokerage, and there's so many different aspects to it that I'm not leaving. I'm not going anywhere. I wouldn't even think about doing anything. I had a little blip a few years ago,
right,
where I kind of thought about it. But the blip was me realizing I needed a kick in my ass to start back into it again and to find my love.
Right.
And Dennis actually gave me that kick in my ass and held me accountable. And here I am now. So, yeah.
And I was speaking to Vicky Sweeney, who is now back.
Yes.
And she was saying that, like, this is now a thing. It's the homecoming for Royal LePage Frank. There's Vicky and there's some others who have decided to go and try somewhere else, but then they came back.
Yeah.
And
sometimes it's not green around the other side.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to check it out and see.
That's it. And sometimes it is, it's not personal. It's a professional move. It's not personal because the people are great.
Maybe there's something that you want to do, and it's something about another brokerage that has, that opportunity or whatever. Yeah.
Or they have to move brokerages because of this, that, or whatever.
Right.
Or they think they're going to do better because it's not quite working out as well for them here. Another brokerage, it will be better for them there. But a lot of the times, there will be agents that leave and they go to a different brokerage that will suit them. Perfect.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's all about finding the right fit, like you
absolutely,
said.
not everyone, like
Yeah.
you're not going to be best friends with everyone either, right?
Yeah.
So, but we have found that agents end up come knocking on the door again, saying, "Can I come home?" And of course, we're like, "Absolutely."
Yeah.
The door's wide open, and we welcome them back. And so excited to have Vicky back with us after a few years of her blip. There's a blip in the system. That's what we.
I was actually speaking to Vicky at the Christmas party, and she was describing something to me, and I said, "Hey,
Yeah, she's at our Christmas party.
yeah,
And she's because her daughter works for us.
right, yeah,
So-
that's
so she
the excuse."
She comes as the plus one,
Yeah.
but now she has her very own invitation to come to our stuff.
There you go.
But yeah, sorry, you were speaking with her at Christmas.
So yeah, I said she was explaining, some of the things that she had been doing and what she was doing and what she was planning, and I said, Vicky, it sounds like you've got a similar thing going on to what I am inclined to do sometimes. I had a therapist once tell me that she defined it as periodic discontent, and I'm like, so what do you mean by that? And she said, well, you'll be really passionate about something and you'll do it for like a period of time, whether it be a year or 2 years or 3 years. But then at some point, it doesn't matter how much you are still enjoying it and like passionate. And if it's, that might be the perfect thing for you, you just get bored of it. So you've got to go off and do something new. Right. And for me, in my own business, I can't quit and then go and start something new. But what I do is I reinvent something or I start something else or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Vicky said, yeah, I think that's probably one of the traits that she has, which is why she's kind of here than she's there. But
yeah, but this is it.
She's coming back for good. Yeah,
she started here with her real estate career, so yeah, we're super happy.
Well, it's been great chatting with you, Bonnie.
Thanks, John.
And I'm excited to hear about the trek. I'm excited to see when you next do a grand in the hand thing.
I'm excited to talk to you about your donation and support.
Yes, absolutely. And if anybody's watching this and they want to support you, what would be a way to do that?
So you'll have to find me on Facebook under Bonnie White, Royal LePage Frank, or on Instagram. I'm there too. And then there are links to my donation page.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give you the actual link and you can.
The link that's on the screen right here. I'm going to say right here.
Right there.
Yeah. Donate to Bonnie White.
Thanks, John.
Thank you, Bonnie.